Hi, this is Mr. Case, and we're going to be finishing up 12.1 B with a little talk on what made the Tang and the Song dynasties so profitable. Well, with this prosperity and innovation, it's only natural that you're going to see some inventions that make China um, an advanced culture for sure. One of the things was movable type. Movable type was nothing more than blocks of characters that were interchangeable. You could use them over and over and over again. Now, that wasn't really necessarily a great thing because to be barely literate, you had to learn 1,000 characters, and to be fairly literate, you had to learn 10,000 characters. But nonetheless, it was the Chinese that invented movable type. They also invented gunpowder, which is going to be used a little bit later on in bombs, grenades, cannons. It's interesting the Chinese invented gunpowder, but they did not invent guns. And so a little bit later on, the Europeans are going to come in and bump them off with an invention that uses gunpowder. Not only will you see gunpowder, but you're going to see things like porcelain, which is a type of clay, mechanical clocks, paper money, and a magnetic compass, which will be used for navigation along the coastal sea routes. So, an advanced culture, that's for sure. Agriculture is going to grow as rice cultivation improves. Instead of one crop a year, you got two crops a year, and the government was so interested in making sure that the farmers knew about this that they distributed seedlings throughout the provinces to make sure that this new rice cultivation took place. Well, if there's more food, they're going to celebrate by having more kids. The population is going to grow to about 100 million people, and you're going to see at least 10 cities in China that boast a population of 1 million or more back then. So they were the most populous nation in the world and the most advanced for sure. The Silk Road is going to be replaced by ocean traffic, and so China becomes a coastal sea power. They're going to spread their influence throughout Korea, China, Southeast Asia, etc., etc. Yes, they still use the Silk Roads, but they also are going to use ocean-going traffic. Culture is going to spread throughout East Asia. I'll give you an example. Buddhism, that was born in India, travels eastward to China, and then it goes farther east to Korea and Japan. So when you trade goods, you also trade ideas. It's at this time you're going to see a golden age of art in which the Tang and Song dynasties' prosperity is going to feed the arts. People were wealthy enough to be able to afford others to compose poetry, songs, watercolors, plays, etc., etc. Sounds like the Romans with their wealthy folks.
Your mom goes to college.
All right, thanks a lot. Now we have scholar officials that were expected to compose poetry and engage in the arts. Why? Because they were folks that did not work in the fields. They were people of wealth and power, and it was kind of a status symbol to do poetry and compose music, etc., etc. So they were expected to compose poetry. You're going to see Daoist influences throughout nature. The Daoists believe in following the natural way. Black ink, not colored ink, was favored in pictures. There's an old saying, black ink is worth 10 colors. So you will see a stark contrast of black and white, but there is a powerful message that's portrayed throughout that. Changes in Chinese society. Well, when things are doing well economically as well as artistically and invention wise, you're going to see that prosperity is going to produce a new group of people. it's going to be a landed gentry, Gentry. These changes are going to produce a group of scholar officials. The most important avenue of rising in society was through education. Again, it wasn't the family connections. Just because you were of a certain family did not mean you're going to rule. It was now through a civil service that people gained these positions. These old aristocratic families are going to fade in power when the scholars, called the gentry, are going to gain these positions with education and taking the civil service exams. Gentry, again, are scholar officials. Scholar officials. So in theory, you could work from humble beginnings all the way up until the highest parts of society. Now, that does not make people feel good if they are the old aristocratic families. Now, this picture probably is going to gross you out. But this is a picture of a scholar official. He's actually a doctor. And it looks like he's smoking a pipe, and it might even be opium. But what you notice is his long fingernails. This is a status symbol that tells people, I do no manual labor. I am a scholar. I make a living using my brain instead of my hands. So that is a status symbol. If you worked in the fields, obviously your nails would break off. So peasants work in the fields and they harvest the grain. Women's work is seen less important than man's work. Well, who made that stupid rule? Obviously men. It was a male-dominated society. But some lunkhead noblemen believed that women with small feet were pretty. So what he did is he bound the feet of his infant daughter. When she continued to grow, her feet did not, with strips of bamboo. So a custom of foot binding in the upper class was again a sign of beauty, wealth, and prestige. It was to show people that you didn't have to work in the fields. Well, take a look at this picture of this woman. Her feet are exceptionally small for her body, so quite often she just sat down because it was painful to walk. Differences here in these Chinese dynasties in ancient times. Obviously, today, the practice of foot binding has been done away with. In fact, in 1949, the communist Chinese did away with that foolishness. Well, this is the end of 12.1b. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.